A warm welcome to all our viewers to this engaging webinar on Modernize your IT infrastructure for extreme performance, brought to you by etcio.com and Oracle. I am Shashwat DC, Consulting Editor, etcio.com, and will be your moderator for this session. The world has changed much under the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, especially so on the enterprise infrastructure side. Because of the disruption, companies have had to scale up and optimize their enterprise infrastructure in a very short time. Companies are looking to increase productivity and doing so in a cost-effective manner. In today's webinar, we will discuss about Oracle Gen 2 Cloud and how you can run your WebLogic applications better on Oracle Cloud infrastructure to achieve both aspects. To begin with, I would like to invite Vamsi Mudyam, who is the Director of Business Development for Oracle Cloud Platform and has the additional responsibility of data center services. With a focus on accountability and a focus on best price performance among the cloud vendors, Oracle Cloud is the one-stop shop for all your cloud needs. The session will focus on articulating the key differentiators Oracle Gen 2 Cloud brings to the table for enterprise customers. Over to you, Vamsi.
Hi, thank you, Shashwat, for that quick intro. And team, thank you for taking time out. And I'm not going to waste time on introductions. My name is Vamsi, as Shashwat said. I will focus on clearly laying out what are those key differentiators and why we are so bullish about Oracle being the one-stop shop for all your cloud needs. With that, I just want to display this slide because of legal reasons. There are some statements which I have made about roadmap. And for all practical purposes, they are roadmaps, and you consider them under advisement. With that, I just want to spend a couple of minutes on this slide. This is a very important slide, tone of what is happening, right? Oracle, about 2 years ago, when we started the Gen 2 Cloud, we started with a few regions, 2 regions in US and 1 region in Europe, etc. Today, we are about 26 regions. And I have to keep changing this slide whenever I make a presentation because every month, I think we calculated roughly every 21 days, we are opening a new region for Oracle Cloud. So if you look at this slide, there are 2 or 3 things I want you to take away. First, Oracle will be having a footprint of Cloud Gen 2 infrastructure in almost every habitated continent of the world. That's the first statement. Second, if you look at the nuance, right, every country or region, the reason I use region is European Union is a region, and you look at it, Amsterdam, Frankfurt, and Zurich are 3 data centers in the region, right? And if you look at any other country, US, Toronto, Canada, or India, or Korea, Japan, or Australia, we by design have set up at least 2, if not 3 data centers or regions, cloud regions of Oracle. Why do we do that? Very simply, we want you as a customer to be using Oracle Cloud, not just for your production, but also for your data, DR, right? Because we don't want you to move out of the country for various reasons, right? Legal, latency, technical reasons, out of the country for any of your computing needs. So that's one of the very important design points. There are a lot of vendors who have multiple regions, but this design point of having more than 1 data center available in the country is something very unique. And then you see this small dots of Microsoft logo. Just want to spend half a minute on that. A year ago or so, we introduced Microsoft partnership with Oracle, wherein we realized that between Oracle and Microsoft, we have a lot of customers in common. And you as customers want to leverage what is best in Microsoft with what is best in Oracle. So what we did was we invested into a backbone which connects these 2 data centers of Azure and OCI, or Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and gives you an extremely low latency connectivity between these 2 data centers. But we are not limiting it to just low latency connectivity. We also work with Azure to ensure that you have single sign-on so that when you log into your Azure portal, you can single sign-on onto an Oracle Cloud and then start managing and provisioning what you need on the Oracle data center too. So that's something which we want to leave you with. So quickly, we have 26 regions today live. Our target is to grow to 36 regions. You can count the number of empty circles there. There are about 10 of them. by the end of this calendar year. So we are growing this at a rapid pace, and we are not coming at this with a very small, narrow business mentality, right? We're looking at as broad as we can to be a hyperscale provider of choice. Now, if I go to the next slide, this is where I want to really call out and get to the meat of our conversation, which is what are the key differentiators and why is Oracle spending so much money? Each data center doesn't come cheap, right? We're spending so much money setting this whole infrastructure up because we realize one of the beauty of being a latecomer to a party is that you have a vantage point through which you can see what has worked well for some people and what has really not worked in terms of what customers want. So what has worked well with cloud providers? Beauty of pay-as-you-go, beauty of hyperscale, beauty of connect from everywhere. Awesome. But then what really didn't work? If you today look at it, more than 70% of enterprise workloads are still sitting on premises. That's because people are concerned about things like performance, security. Is it as good as what I can set up from my on-premises? So the first differentiator is we looked at security ground up. When we say security ground up or re-envision in the cloud, one of the important things we did is something called a zero trust architecture, which basically means I don't trust you, you don't trust me. I don't put any piece of code on on your computer, and you don't put any piece of my code which will affect my computer, right? So what we have done is we have taken the control code which is used to manage infrastructure out of the box. Along with that, we've also taken the network I/O out of the box and said that when you provision a hardware on Oracle Cloud, there is no piece of Oracle Cloud which is sitting or Oracle code which is sitting on your computer. And if by chance someone hacks into your computer for whatever reason, you kept a bunch of ports open, they cannot connect to my Oracle code, and hence I'm protecting my rest of my customers, right? And that's what zero trust architecture is about. And the other thing we do is when we basically you start using Oracle Cloud and you finish using your compute, when you get away from it, we use a Department of Defense certified wiping technology so that even forensically, data cannot be taken out from that machine and being misused. So that's the wonderful nature of the zero trust architecture. And then we have something called maximum security zones, where basically we say everything is shut when you start and you have to open. We don't give you the choice of closing something after you open it. We say, boss, we don't trust you. We will close everything and give you all the ports are blocked. Everything is completely isolated. You start opening based on your security posture, right? Based on your CISO. So this basically will give you an idea that we are making sure it's as secure and if not more secure than your own on-premises infrastructure. And then obviously you know about Oracle database. That's probably is, I don't need to preach the choir. Most of you are on this call because you are Oracle database customers and you live and die by that, right? So it's as secure as you can get when you use Oracle database on Oracle Cloud. The second most important thing is you can get all the security, but if it doesn't perform well, why do you want to do it, right? So we have done, and not we, as when I say we, we've got third parties like Storage Review and some of the SIs like Accenture who have done a lot of analysis on the performance characteristics of Oracle Cloud. And what they've realized is whether it's a Microsoft SQL or an Oracle database or a virtual data set, virtual desktop infrastructure or a mixed workload, the number of IOPS you get out of an Oracle block storage is way higher, at least two times, if not more than 2 times. 2 to 5 times is what we say based on the type of workload you run. Like for example, if you're running an Oracle database workload, it's actually about 5 times more throughput you get. Because for anyone who's designing architectures and who's understands this, the more number of IOPS, the better the performance. Because at the end of it, the chips are the same, right? Everyone has the same chip. Yes, we have taken out some of the overhead of the virtualization from it, but you still need to have a very high performing storage for you to get the best performance. And what does a secure and well-performing solution give you? It's common sense, right? If you can do more amount of work using the same infrastructure much faster, you obviously pay lesser because you're obviously using pay-as-you-go, right? And if you look at this slide, our economics are not amazingly superior. Not only are we giving you better performance, but much, much, much cost-effective infrastructure. So if you look at this, apart from maybe one of them, which is the data archive, we score better than both the leading cloud vendors in terms of economics. So when Shashwat kicked off, we said price performance is the key, right? Secure price performance is what we're focusing on to ensure that when you run your workload on Oracle Cloud, you're getting the most secure environment at the best performance at the best price you can achieve in the market today. Now, let me move on to the fourth one. We're just not limiting ourselves to securing and giving you the best price, etc. We are constantly innovating. Our autonomous suite of offerings, is self-running, self-securing, self-driving infrastructures, right? So options, right? Autonomous database. Using AI ML, we are able to predict and ensure that we patch and we secure your database without your intervention, so that your DBA can actually focus on things which are relevant to business than just trying to get the database secure and get the database performing betterly. So autonomous database is self-repairing, which basically means it's constantly looking at how it can perform better, and self-securing too. It can secure itself from any misuse of the data, etc. And then we have autonomous Linux, and in 2020, we're also introducing autonomous data guard, so that when you have two autonomous databases running on two regions of a cloud, you can actually do replication and have a business continuity plan, even when you're using autonomous database. And the last, the most important, and if you remember, Shashwat used the word accountable. But what do we mean by accountability? Accountability means that when we give you an SLA, we are not just giving you an SLA for availability, which most of them give you. We're also ensuring that we give you an SLA for performance and manageability. What do you mean by that? Your infrastructure can be available, but if your portal is not working, if you're not able to make an API call to make a change to the portal, change to a VM, etc., what use is it? So when we say manageability, we're ensuring every API call you can make to Oracle Cloud will be available at 99.9%. If we don't meet it, we are penalizing ourselves. We'll give you service credits to do better. Performance. When I spoke about in the previous slide about this performance, when we say so many IOPS, so when you buy committed IOPS from Oracle as a part of as part of our offering, we will ensure that at any given point of time, the IOPS given to you will be at 99.5% of what is committed to you. What else do you need? So you're not only getting the secure, best performing, but also having someone like Oracle stand behind it with an SLA which has severe financial penalties. And last but not the least, we have also ensured that these things can be consumed in an easy way, which is universal credit. You have a prepaid card, you pay us X amount of money, and we're not limiting you to using a service or a machine. You can use anything in our catalog as long as you have money in your prepaid card. So those are the 5 top differentiators which I want to leave you with. And I just have 2 more things which I want to talk about. We're also keeping in ourselves, ensuring that we are able to hear from you. And we know that VMware is another choice which a lot of you have invested in as a on-premise virtualization software. With our partnership, which is recently announced and we went live like a week or 10 days ago, you can now lift and shift VMware infrastructure onto Oracle Cloud seamlessly and get the same control which you get on-premises on the Oracle Cloud. Right? With that, I just want to leave you with one slide, and before I pass it on to Shashwat, these are the options. After you've heard, you'll be wondering what are the customers around in APAC doing. So these are the 7 or 8 top use cases which are there. And if you look at it today, today's presentation will focus on move and improve. The second one, move and improve custom applications, which are basically developed using Oracle WebLogic and Oracle Database. Right? With that, I wish you good luck for the remaining part of the session, and I will pass it back to Shashwat. Shashwat, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Vamshi. That was a very insightful overview of the Gen 2 Cloud. You summarized the whole thing very beautifully. Next up, I would like to invite Stefania Mosio, Senior Director, Cloud Native Business Development, APAC, Oracle. So how to quickly and safely move existing WebLogic applications to the cloud is a question that has been in the heads of many, both in the developer side and the operation side. Whether you're thinking of making DevOps a reality or moving, upgrading, or building applications, this session will show you how to achieve this quickly and safely. Over to you, Stefania.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you very much for having me, Shashat. Very happy to be here. As Shashat mentioned, I'm actually a cloud solutions architect with Oracle. I've been with Oracle for quite a long time, been in Singapore now for 6 years, working very closely with our customers here in the APAC region, mainly on WebLogic, and obviously more frequently nowadays moving their WebLogic workload to the cloud. And this is what we're going to address today. So before we start, please take a minute to make yourself familiar with our safe harbor statement, as I will be covering a couple of roadmap items into my presentation. So as the benefit of moving to the cloud became clearer and more predictable, many of us in both dev and ops have frequently asked, how can I quickly and safely move my existing WebLogic applications to the cloud? So in fact, there's two parts in this question. The moving is actually the easy part, and I'm confident that many of you would know how to move VMs around or even rebuild a specific application from scratch in a different environment, including, of course, cloud environments. But the more challenging part is indeed the quickly and safely. So this is the reason why at Oracle, we've combined our years of experience helping customers build and run mission-critical applications with our deep expertise in WebLogic, database, and of course, the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure to provide a simple but precise answer to this challenging question. The result of this initiative is a brand new solution named WebLogic for OCI. And the objective is to provide the tools and processes required to consistently move quickly and safely, reach a better cost efficiency, and eventually deliver better applications. So let's start with the move quickly and safely. First, the quickly part is achieved with automated provisioning. Based on Terraform, one of the most popular open source technologies, we provide a fully managed cloud service called the Resource Manager. And this automatically provisions all the infrastructure component required to run a mission-critical application on WebLogic. The result is very, very impressive. We have a full WebLogic stack that is domain and cluster provisioned in less than 15 minutes, instead of hours if you were going to do that manually. Second, the safely part, which is really what was missing so far to provide enough confidence for our customers to massively move to the cloud. The safely part is based on an Oracle enterprise-grade, high availability reference architecture, and is to deploy a multi-node clustered WebLogic domain to the highest specifications of robustness, availability, and security. Now, if you couple this with the largest choice of WebLogic and database versions, spanning from 10.3.6 to the latest 14c, for example, with WebLogic, and the fact that OCI is the only option to run the RAC database in the cloud, you now have the most compelling solutions to move WebLogic and Oracle database applications to the cloud. Here is a logical architecture diagram of what we call the full stack WebLogic domain and cluster, provisioned with WebLogic for OCI. This includes obviously the core component of the stack, such as the multiple compute instances, the load balancer, and the Bastion compute. This is used for access when you're actually running your WebLogic installed into a private subnet, as well as the WebLogic admin server, as you can see, and the clustered managed server. This also includes the binding to a few external components that are either required or optional for the complete system. Here you can see a vault for key management system that is required, and a couple of databases. Those are optional. So let's take a little deeper look how the provisioning works. The solution is based on the OCI marketplace. This is a click to deploy solution catalog. And the Oracle Resource Manager is a fully managed service for the Terraform engine. So with a simple click-through interface, this approach generates Terraform script to automate the provisioning across all OCI resources and quickly deploy a secure, highly available, fully functional WebLogic domain ready to host applications. And this with no architecture changes. If you're moving existing on-prem application to the cloud, this is the perfect solution for you. The complete provisioning will take about 10 minutes. And this is exactly what I'm going to show you in the demo. You can see the steps here, the basic provisioning flow. First, there's a preparation step. I'm not going to show you this. This happens only one time, right? This is done most likely by the ops part of the organization. First, you generate an SSH key, right? And you're just going to need to use the public part of that key. Using the vault, you're going to encrypt the key and generate a secret. That secret will actually encrypt and store the WebLogic admin password that you use into the WebLogic admin console. Optionally, you can provision your database instances at a time. Step number 1 here, so 2 on the screen, start up the stack, is where you're actually going to start the provisioning flow, right? And that's what I'm going to show you with the demo. First, going to the marketplace, we're going to select the WebLogic versions, the WebLogic edition. We're going to select a compartment. A compartment is logical isolation to group cloud resources together. And we're just going to give a name to our stack. Second, we're going to configure our instance. We're going to choose the number of shapes or nodes that we need for our cluster. We're going to select an availability domain, AD, and we're going to set the secret. Remember that secret that we created earlier in the preparation step? Set the secret for the WebLogic admin password. Once we have that, we're going to configure the network. You have 2 options. You can either select an existing virtual cloud network, or you can create a new one from scratch. The provisioning flow, the automated provisioning flow, can actually create the VCN from scratch for you. You're going to select the subnet, can be private or public, and you're going to configure your load balancer. That step is optional. We're still going to do it in our demo. Step number 4, if you want to manage the end user of your application using the Oracle Identity Cloud Service, this step is optional. But this is where you will actually set the connection information to the IDCS instance and basically set the client secret and the redirect port. Last step, optional as well, which will not be covered into the demo for the purpose of time, we will configure, or you would configure, the database. Most of the time, in a real world example, you would actually go through that step. Nothing specific to WebLogic here. This is where you would configure the database itself. So just to summarize, first, we're going to start with the marketplace. Second, this is going to take us to the resource manager, our fully managed Terraform engine. And once our Terraform config file is generated, automatically we will start the provisioning of the load balancer, the compute, network, and storage component. And last but not least, install and configure the WebLogic domain and the cluster. So this is what I'm going to do right now. And I'm going to share my browser now and show you how this works. So now on this browser, I'm actually on the Oracle Cloud, right? As you can see, I go to the marketplace, right? The click-through catalog. Let me find a marketplace here, and I select applications. As you can see, there are a lot of different applications, right? I will actually choose a stack because it's a complete stack that we want to provision here. The publisher is obviously Oracle, and the category is application development. As you can see here, I have a list of WebLogic and Coherence stack images that are ready for me to use. I can use either the WebLogic Enterprise Edition, Suite Edition, or Standard Edition. And I have 2 subscription models, BYOL, bring your own license, or UCM, which is our universal credit model. A little bit more about that into the rest of the presentation. Here, let's select the Enterprise Edition of WebLogic. As you can see here, I'm going to select the version. As of today, I can actually provision WebLogic 11G by the version of 10.3.6 or 12C up to 12.2.1.4. The default is 12.2.1.4. Our latest and greatest version, 14C, 14.1.1, is just coming in a couple of weeks. So I'm selecting the default WebLogic 12.2.1.4, 12.2.2.1.4. Here, there is a compartment, WebLogic for OCI. As I mentioned, it's a logical isolation. I had created that compartment earlier, but if I wanted, I could actually change the compartment here. But let's use the one that I have created for the purpose of this demo. I'm going to launch my stack. This is going to get me to a form, very brief, that I just have to fill with some of the variables. First, as I said, I'm going to give it a name. Let's call it WebLogic ETCIO, right? And then the description is the WebLogic demo for the ETCIO webinar. As is going to be created into that specific compartment that I have initially created, and the version of Terraform is 0.12.x. Next, I have to provide a prefix name. So WebLogic, I can call it again ETCIO if I want. I have to find the perfect shape for my deployment. Obviously, it's just a very small standard app, sample app that I'm going to deploy. So I just choose the smallest shape available, standard 2.1. And here, I have to put the public key, the SSH public key. That public key is going to be helpful for me when I need to actually log into the compute instance on which I'm running a WebLogic node. For this, I have prepared my public key here, and I just have to paste it into that field. I choose a availability domain. I choose AD2, doesn't really matter. The number of nodes, I want a cluster 2 node. WebLogic admin username is going to be WebLogic. Now, that's the interesting part. For the secret OCID, I need to find that secret. That secret, as I mentioned, had been created into the vault. So I have to go and look at the vault. As you can see, I have created a new tab here, still into the cloud. I'm going to the vault. I'm going to security, vault. I'm going to get into my WebLogic for OCI compartment. Again, here is the vault that I had created quite some time ago, as you can see, WebLogic vault. I click on that vault. I have the different encryption keys. I have the secret. That's what I need. The WebLogic admin is the secret that I need. The only thing that I have to do here is to copy that OCID here and then paste it into that field just right here, right? Very good. I can actually change some of the advanced configurations that would basically change you the port as well as the option to deploy or not the sample app. I'm just choosing to use the default. Network configuration. I'm using the same compartment here for my network, but I could choose another one if I wanted. I want actually the script to create a brand new VCN for me. And I'm just going to give it a name. So I'm going to call it WebLogic etc VCN. I'm choosing to accept all those defaults. So the CIDR, I want to create a new subnet. I want the subnet to be public. I want the subnet to be regional. It could be only restricted to the availability domain, but here I just choose the default regional. And I want to provision a load balancer. And I also accept the defaults here. If I had some end users, I could actually authentify them here, right? OCI policy is a bit interesting because obviously Terraform is a script, headless script that runs into the cloud shell for you. And obviously you need to give it access to the different component. So if you had not created access policies to enable Terraform to access those components previously to run that script, you could actually check that mark here, and automatically this will create the policies for you. Provision with GRF is not the case here, so I'm not going to do that. Next, just review quickly our configuration. So it all looks good, and I click on create. Just now, in a couple of seconds, the config file Terraform has been generated, and automatically a job has started and been accepted in our resource manager. As the job runs, you will see the results of the logs being displayed here on the way. So as I mentioned, this is going to take about 10 minutes. So we're now going to go back to our second part of the presentation. And after that, we will go back to this screen. And if all goes well, usually it all goes well, we're actually going to see the job completed successfully, and we'll access our newly provisioned and deployed application on WebLogic on OCI. Let's go back to the presentation. So let's move to the second part, reach a better cost efficiency. So because not all workload have the same specificity, production, for example, needs 7 by 24 by 365 uptime, whereas dev and test usage is more sporadic. Customers will be looking for a flexible cost or subscription model. WebLogic for OCI is the only solution to enable such flexible subscription model to run WebLogic in the cloud. Customers select the subscription model as you have seen into the demo during their provisioning into the marketplace. They select, for example, BYOL if they have existing WebLogic licenses to deploy, let's say, a production environment. And in this case, they will just be in charge compute, network, and storage usage. And at the same time, this will help to protect on-prem investment. Or they can actually select what we call the universal credit model when deploying a dev, test, or any type of seasonal environment, which by nature are a lot more dynamic. And in this case, they will be charged also for compute, network, and storage, plus a fee for WebLogic based on OCPU per hour usage. So not only this enable our customers to optimize their cost, but, and almost more importantly, this enable customers to implement use cases which were not financially viable on premise. And this paved the way to deliver better applications. So let's talk about delivering better application. Actually, this benefit from my perspective is probably the one where we get the most leverage. We actually solve some of the major issues that IT has been facing for a long, long time. First, solving the lack of access to proper resource for dev and test. WebLogic for OCI is an on-demand, self-service, automatic provisioning suite of tools to build highly agile IT environment. And this helps team to spin up and down instances in a fraction of the time and a fraction of the cost of what it would be otherwise. Second, we're solving the famous, oh, I'm not sure why it doesn't work. This actually was working on my machine. Most of the time, this issue is due to the discrepancies between dev, test, and production environments. WebLogic for OCI flexible cost model allows to streamline all environments to what we call production-like environment, therefore enforcing consistency in the application delivery process. And this is one of the main, if not the most important, DevOps principle. And third, each in-country cloud, and we have 4 in APAC. We have Australia, we have Korea, we have, of course, India, and we have Japan. Soon coming Singapore. Each in-country cloud region has actually 2 different sub-regions. That's enabled our customers to deploy a complete primary and DR environments in the same country, but on 2 different regions, right? For example, let's say you deploy the primary in Mumbai and the DR, let's say in Hyderabad in India, as an example, right? Same country, but 2 separately, geographically separated region, enabling you really to deploy a DR. So if you see those 3 aspects, solving the lack of access, solving the infamous, oh, I'm not sure it doesn't work, was working on my machine, by streamlining all the environment. And finally, the in-country dual region for an easy to build DR in a geographic separated region. All of these help customers to make DevOps a reality and therefore deliver better applications. But all of this would not be possible without the OCI, without the Oracle cloud infrastructure, right? OCI, the Gen 2 cloud, is what actually making the big difference here with superior performance, superior economics, obviously the enterprise expertise of Oracle, a very strong impact on securing completely the cloud, security first, and obviously a complete ecosystem, as you can see through the marketplace, enabling you to deploy easily and safely, not only Oracle middleware like WebLogic, not only Oracle applications, but also the myriad of our partners' application. We have even more than that. WebLogic has also its life, outside of the cloud, so to speak, right? WebLogic becomes what we call a cloud neutral technology, whereby the exact same WebLogic can work on premise, but can also work very well in the cloud through all those toolings that I just presented to you. With the latest and greatest version that we have so far, 14C, we now have a future-proof WebLogic with a clear support timeline till 2028. And this new version actually enables some interesting performance improvement, especially when you run it with our new open source VM called Graal VM that is specifically built to accelerate a lot of those runtimes, especially, of course, Java EE, but Java in general, but a lot more than that. And all of this is without any code required. But I know that many of you are thinking that WebLogic is great. We're building a lot of mission critical application with it, but it's a monolithic type architecture. It's true, it's true. But there is a lot of ways to actually evolve those monolithic architecture-based application towards a more container neutral, cloud native type infrastructure. And for this, we have made the choice to clearly and strongly embrace containerization through Docker, as well as Cryo, to embrace Kubernetes. Actually, what I've just shown you, WebLogic for OCI, that enables you to quickly and safely deploy from scratch a WebLogic domain and cluster on OCI within a VM, so to speak. We have now about to be released the exact same provisioning process, automated of course, but for Kubernetes. So to being able to deploy a full domain, full stack domain and cluster into a Kubernetes cluster on the cloud, on Oracle Kubernetes Engine, OKE. But most of the time, as you know, WebLogic is also working hand in hand with the database. And most of you, for very good reasons, are using the Oracle database. The multimodal database that we have nowadays within our Oracle database, either on-premise or in the cloud, as a matter of fact, really helps our customers to adopt more of a microservice type architecture from a data management point of view. That multimodal database solves a lot of the issues that are inherent to the microservice architecture from a data management point of view. As a matter of fact, talking about microservices, we now have our enterprise Java platform, what we call cloud service ready. And that comes through another open source project that we have called Helidon. And Helidon is the Java macro profile support that enables customers to use purposely built libraries to actually build new microservice architecture. And of course, coherence, our distributed memory cache, which is going to be also one of the major components here. Last but not least, because most of you will eventually move into a multi-cloud environment, we have this new project, Verrazzano, also an open source project that enables you to build, monitor, and orchestrate hybrid applications into hybrid environments. Okay, it's time now to go back to our demo to see the result. So let's go back to our Chrome. We're about to be done. We're not quite done yet. I've been outside. That's it. It succeeded. Very good. Perfect. So as you can see now on our stack, we have our job, which is succeed, right? let's see how we can actually verify that things have worked. So I'm going to go to that job. I'm going to look at the output, and I'm going to do two things. I'm going to access the sample app, right? And here I have the URL to access that sample app. As you can see, this is by default deployed on HTTPS, and we provide you with a self-signed demo certificate. So no, not all of the browser will enable you to take a look at it just like that. So let's move to Safari, where I know the trick to make it happen. So hopefully you see my browser here. I go to this URL. Of course, I'm going to have a quick error here. That's okay. I can trust it. So I'm going to say, yes, I want to visit that website. I'm just going to give my credential with the password here very quickly. Very good. And here is our sample application. Very simple, obviously, right? But as you can see, we have a few, just a web page here, right? And we have a few options. And if I click on one of them, it actually gets us to the Oracle WebLogic server for OCI documentation. Now, the other thing that I wanted to show you, right? If I go back to my Chrome browser here, the other thing that I wanted to show you is the WebLogic admin console, right? So here it is. Same thing, because I don't have access right now to properly signed certificate, I have to go back to my Safari browser. So going back to Safari here, I'm going to reuse that tab here and go back to the console. Same process. Yes, I know, but I trust it. Yes, no problem. I want to visit. Yes, I want to give the password. Okay, typing the password. Here I go to the WebLogic console. I give the username. If you remember, the username was WebLogic, making sure I don't have any typos. And then I type now the real password, right? And I do login. And here, as you can see, I get to the traditional WebLogic console that all of you know. Nothing have changed. So even though it's actually running in the cloud, everything that you know, all the process that you have put in place to actually monitor, manage, configure your WebLogic environments are still completely usable. As you can see here in my environment and server, I have one admin server and two managed servers, right? And they are actually deployed on two different nodes into our OCI. So time to wrap up. Going back to the presentation just for a few conclusion words here. So that's what we've seen. You've seen this result here, and you can see the sample app and the WebLogic console. Just to wrap up, WebLogic for OCI is really the most compelling solutions to move custom applications to OCI, WebLogic plus Oracle database, of course, and actually provides three benefits. The first one is to move quickly and safely. Second is to reach better cost efficiency with both a combination of BYOL and universal credit model. And then last but not least, of course, enabling you really to make DevOps a reality and deliver better applications. A quick call to action. Do not forget that you have access to free cloud credits. There is an Oracle Cloud free tier that enables you to, I think for a good month, right? To run a lot of experiments, to try a lot of the demos, a lot of the examples. So please feel free to use that. This is a great resource. I wanted also to mention that we have a regional APAC upcoming virtual WebLogic Day planned in November 2020. So look and stay tuned for announcement around this. If you have any further questions, or if you want to discuss a specific use case, I would suggest that you send an email to our colleague, Wamsi here. You have the email address. Then I wanted also to mention the official WebLogic page by where you can actually find a lot of the information. That's all I had for today. Again, thank you so very much to all of you for joining us today on this presentation. Shashwat, back to you.
Thanks, Stephanie, for that engaging talk. I'm sure it must have answered a lot of queries related to WebLogic applications. I would also like to remind our viewers that if they have any questions, they can post it on chat and our experts will answer them shortly. With that, I would now like to invite Pinkesh Ambawat, Chief Information Officer at CRIF India. Pinkesh will speak on how the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure has aided and enabled CRIF India, which is one of India's leading provider of credit information, business information, credit management, and decision solutions. Over to you, Pinkesh.
Hello everyone, I'm happy to be part of this virtual conference. Today I'm going to talk about collaboration between Oracle Infrastructure and CRIF. Before I start with what we have done, I'd like to give you a brief summary about what CRIF is all about. CRIF is a global company specializing in credit bureau and business information, outsourcing and processing services, credit solutions as well. CRIF has international presence operating over 4 continents: Europe, America, Africa, and Asia, having presence in 30 plus countries with 70 plus subsidiary companies, more than 5,000 professionals providing services to all our clients worldwide. Industries we serve, we are present with, we are working with lenders, central banks, corporations, consumers, which is in B2C market, telco, media, energy utilities, insurance companies, capital markets. In India, CRIF is working as a credit bureau, which is an RBI licensed credit bureau. With its extensive bureau database, provides information and analytical solution to banks, NBFCs, microfinance, insurance, telcos. We are the only full bureau service in India who is working in commercial, consumer, and microfinance segment. We are having 1.6 billion records for individuals, 40 million records for non-individuals, and we are the only bureau who can provide credit reports across all databases, including commercial, consumer, and microfinance. I am working with CRIF India as a Chief Technology Officer and IT Director. I'm responsible for driving digital transformation through emerging technologies and strategic initiatives. I'm providing innovative product solutions related to credit bureau, collections, account aggregator, and digital banking. I'm also responsible for managing IT budget within CRIF. Before we go ahead, that why we chose Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, I would like to brief you about the kind of challenges which we are facing in our day-to-day operations. I have listed down around 5 challenges which we are facing. One of them is scaling up infrastructure during festive season. You know that in India, during festive season, lending is at a very high peak, which means that a lot of people are buying some two-wheelers, home, taking personal loans, buying some consumer durables. And to provide support to that, all the banks and financial institutions, we have to have infrastructure sizing to manage the peak volume. At the same time, we are RBI regulated company, which means that our primary the infrastructure we have on a primary site and on the disaster recovery site has to be same in terms of infrastructure, in terms of load balancer, in terms of network devices, everything. Another problem which we are facing is frequent infrastructure upgradation, which means that as the market is growing in India, lending market is growing in India, we are also getting a lot of inquiry volumes, as well as we are receiving data from all the transaction data from banks and NBFCs and microfinance. So we are receiving all the data, financial data from all over India. So our storages are growing, which means that we have to constantly work on capacity planning for infrastructure upgrade, which is also time consuming. We are, as you have told you, we are processing a lot of inquiries. We are doing a lot of ETLs and all to process the data. We have to syncing up primary site and DR site in terms of data is very, very challenging, because we are generating approximately 4 to 5 terabyte of archive logs every day. And to sync up DR with that amount of archive log requires a big kind of bandwidth and pipe between DR and primary site. Also, we wanted to make sure that whenever disaster happens, we are able to serve all our clients with equal capacity and volume what we are processing in primary site. So these were the main challenges which we are facing, and And we don't want to invest a lot as well in disaster recovery, because you know that the amount is disaster is only used whenever disaster happens. Otherwise, the infrastructure is not generating any kind of revenue for us. So these are the main challenges which we were facing. Now, answer to most of the challenges which we were facing is, of course, to move to cloud from on-prem. But there were other challenges because of which we were not able to move to cloud. And we were looking for a solution who can answer those questions. And with Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, we were able to identify most of the answers to questions which were not allowing us to move to cloud. For example, to start with Oracle Exadata as a service. No other provider in the market is providing this as a service right now. And Oracle Exadata is a main I can say, stone of our technology stack. This also helps us in serving all our clients with very good performance. It is a stable solution which we cannot move away from. So that's why we always wanted, if you want to move to cloud, Oracle Exadata has to be there. And with Oracle Cloud coming in India, we are able to get that. Inclusion of SOC services, because we are an RBI regulated company, which means that we are dealing with all the financial data. So our data security is topmost priority. So moving to cloud was another challenge, because on a public cloud, data security is a big challenge. But with Oracle providing SOC services as also part of the solution, is a big help for us. And it is we are making sure that even we are moving to public cloud, the data security is taken care. We always wanted a cloud partner who can have SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS as available with a single partner, and with Oracle is providing that. Universal credit, which is very good benefit which Oracle is providing to its customer. With universal credit, as I mentioned in my earlier slide as well, that disaster infrastructure DR infrastructure is used only when there is a disaster happens. But with universal credit, we can use the course infrastructure used in DR for some other purpose as well. For example, you can do some innovations, you can do some POCs of new products, you can use those cores on a primary side to process some batch volumes. In case there's a business requirement that some of the clients want a fast turnaround time for 1 week, or for festive season we are going to receive more volumes. You can shut down your DR and use those cores for some other revenue generation products. At the same time, your DR is up and running. The reason is you can use minimum cores just to make sure that data is getting replicated between primary and DR side. So that was huge benefit of universal credit. Availability of DR site. So with Oracle is launching its second cloud region in Hyderabad and one in Mumbai. For people like us, CIO like us, it is easy that we have a single partner who is having 2 different sites on cloud on 2 different seismic zones. So it is a good feature, and Oracle is taking care of data replication as well between primary and DR site. Improved response time and performance with, of course, availability of all the softwares and infrastructure as a service. Whenever we want to scale up any infrastructure, we can anytime scale up the infrastructure. If we want to launch new product, we can just spin up some new VMs and we can easily go launch new product. We can easily increase the storage if we want to, if we are accessing more and more data from financial institutions. So flexibility in increasing the infrastructure also gives the flexibility in response time to our clients, and of course it also increases the overall performance of our products. So these are the main reason we chose Oracle Cloud as an infrastructure. Main benefits, I would say there are 4. This with OCI, we just have to concentrate on innovation. It gives all the agility and better support to business, because I can tell my business that okay, you can bring me whatever volume you want to bring, because I am capable to process. By just within minutes, I can just spin up some more VMs, scale up some infrastructure, and I can process whatever volume I want to process. I can load data, whatever you bring to me, which means that my business is taken care. I just have to concentrate more on innovation, and my customer satisfaction is also going to improve on that. With OCI, we are expecting that we will be able to process more real-time transactions, 3x more real-time transactions with 3x improvement in performance because of flexibility in the infrastructure. And we are expecting 30% cost saving in next 3 years because we don't have to invest everything in DR upfront, which means that all my investment converted from capex to opex, which is a very good thing. The reason is I don't have to buy any Oracle product licenses. I can just take as a service where for the time period which I need it, and then I can decommission it when I don't need it. I can switch it off when I don't need it. I can use all the Oracle products which I was not able to use in the past because of the cost. But with now this as a service, I can use it. So it gives me all the flexibility which I wanted to do that. Also, it gives me benefits of using some innovation in terms of using machine learning, big data. I can do all of those innovation with this Oracle infrastructure by moving to cloud. With that, I'm completing my presentation, but at the same time, before I close my presentation, I'd like to congratulate Oracle India in launching its second cloud region in India, which is in Hyderabad. Of course, with its second Oracle cloud region, Oracle is showing aggressive expansion, and cloud region will help both startups and enterprise in its innovation journey. Indian clients will now have access to all the Oracle cloud services. This will also help credit bureaus to gain access to a flexible and secure infrastructure and comply with all the regulatory requirements around personal data. Congratulations, entire Oracle team for its second cloud region in Hyderabad. Thank you.
Thanks, Venkesh. With that, we come to an end of this engaging webinar. As we have discovered, moving WebLogic apps to OCI can be not only highly productive, but also cost-effective. Through these sessions, where we had experts from Oracle and a high-valued enterprise CIO share their views, I'm sure the business case for OCI has been established beyond doubt. I wish to thank all the speakers for their time and also to all the viewers who have been with us. I want to reiterate that all your queries will be attended by our experts shortly. Thanks again to all of you and have a great day.